Hello there and welcome back to this advanced digital LinkedIn training for job seekers, professionals and contractors. Now just to recap, in modules 1 and 2 we've looked at your profile. We've looked at why your profile should be written with results and with your client and future employer in mind. We've looked at how you rank your profile, the key elements of your profile, where you place your keyword, and the result of that is you will now have a profile that's 99% unique from your competition. You're already now well above your competition. Now, what I'm about to show you in Module 3 is how to build your network for career growth. Now remember, LinkedIn is a business asset. It is not Facebook, it is not Twitter, it's not a social site for sharing pictures of your dog and so forth. It is a business asset which will be used to grow your career. LinkedIn's going nowhere. So, when you build your network, there's a few elements you need to understand. LinkedIn is built on relationships. So, a network, by its default understanding, a network is built on relationships from 1 to 2, from 2 to 3, and so forth. So what I want you to do is I want you to understand the concept of a network. So say for example you want to be connected with 500 people in the aviation niche. Now LinkedIn allows you to connect with people who are 3 connections deep. So you've got a first connection, a second connection and a third connection. Now you could have all 500 people from that aviation group in your network by connecting with one person who's already connected to all 500. And that's leveraging the power of a network. So what I want you to do is take your mindset from thinking how you build your relationships and build your network, and think about how you leverage the power of a network. And that's what we're about to do. So there's 3 phases we go through when we build your network. We go through a foundation phase, that's phase 1. We go through a phase 2, which is where we focus on the companies and roles that you want to be doing business with. And phase 3, KPIs, key people of influence. So these are the very decision makers and the market and industry leaders in your niche. So we're going to work through these one phase at a time. But what I want you to do first of all, going back to module 1, we understood the concept of what's in it for me. So when you approach someone on LinkedIn, when you send them an invitation to connect, they will be thinking, why should I connect with you? What have you got to offer me? So you need to always use the language in your invitations based on benefits for them. There are egos on LinkedIn. People get a kick out of rejecting your invitation. Unfortunately, it happens. It happens in the real world as well. It happens in the online world. So you need to really sell yourself to your prospect, to the person you want to connect with, and really let them know that you are there to give them something of value. So that's what I want you to think about. So the content of your invitation, when you connect with somebody, the actual content of the invitation needs to be specific to the individual you're trying to connect with, and you need to give a benefit as to why they should connect with you. Very important. So what's in it for me? So let's go into a live session. So let's say, first of all, I want to connect with this chap, Oliver. So I'm going to click on connect, and when this box comes up, you've got various different options here. Now he may well be a colleague, so you select where you've worked with him before. May well be a classmate, so you select the relevant educational organisation. It could be you've done business together at a company or organisation. It could be a friend. It could be you share a group with them. It could be another way where you need their email address. Or it could be you don't know Oliver. Now, word of warning. If you send out a lot of invitations in one go and you get rejected, then LinkedIn will put a temporary restraint on your account. So what may happen is you'll need to add your email address for every invitation. Now that happens if you send out too many invitations too quickly, and you get rejected. So what I recommend you do, you be strategic with this, and I'm going to show you what to do now. So you send out, it depends how your network's been built, but you'd be safe with around 50 a day. But you build your network in a way that you don't get rejected anyway. So you can send out a lot more invitations, hundreds of invitations, you won't get rejected. But if you ever do get that, if it's because you sent out too many invitations, or you sent out a spammy invitation, you've not made it personal, and LinkedIn will temporarily put a pause on your account, so you need to add the email address. If that happens, you contact customer service. But what I'm going to show you will mean that should not happen. So what you do is this: every time you connect with someone, you're going to send them a personal invitation. So I say, "Hi Olivier," and this is what you always want to do. So if, say, Olivier was in the Java development field, I would like to share my expansive Java development network of Java specialists with you. And it could be that Olivier is a recruiter, or it could be Olivier is a team leader. I am sure you will benefit from contacting with my pool of talent, or connecting is better in this instance. So straight away, we're saying that I'd like to share my expansive Java development network with you, Olivier. I'm sure you'll benefit from connecting with my pool of talent. So we've made it very benefit driven for Olivier. So every time we connect with someone, we think about what would be a benefit to them. Now it could be that you're a graduate, for example, and you do not have such an expansive network. It could be that you might want to say you want to share your expansive network of recent college graduates from Oxford University, or whichever university you're from. It could be that you might want to share you might have a group, share connections in your group. It could be that you've got a common connection. It could be that you're both connected to Steve Smith's, and Steve knows you very well, and you've asked Steve, listen, what's Olivier like? And he might say he's a great guy. So you can either get Steve to introduce him for you, or you can connect direct with him. But every time you connect with someone, you always think about what's in it for them. You don't just send an invitation using the default. You never ever send an invitation using the default. You always make it personal. So you always reference their name. You always add a benefit. And then you might, depending on whether you know the person or not, if you wish, I would be willing to speak personally about any future roles in the department, whatever it might be. But you make it very benefit driven. You do not just sell to them. You do not make it very ballsy. You do not copy and paste. You make it personal. You may have a template you use which changes some elements. It might change the benefit you're giving to them, the industry, but you don't just copy and paste the whole message. You make it personal. Now, if you're not sure which one of these elements to use, you could use your current position, or it could be that you're a graduate, you use your current university, and they will soon see that the subtext and why you're connecting with them, if you're looking for a recruiter or if you're connecting with an employer. But when you would connect with anyone, you always make it benefit driven. But now there's 3 areas you go through when you build your network. So I'm going to go back to the presentation. There we go. So on your handout, you'll see Module 3, Network for Career Growth. So number 1, a network built using LinkedIn. LinkedIn Open Networkers, 250 minimum. Now a LinkedIn Open Networker, so a lion on your sheet. A lion is a member of LinkedIn. So I'm going to do a search for lion now. A lion is a member of LinkedIn who terms themselves a LinkedIn Open Networker. So that's what LION stands for, a LinkedIn Open Networker. Now these individuals are super connectors. These are individuals who generally accept an invitation from absolutely anyone. And the reason why they do that, they understand the power of a network. So first of all, I want you to write down next to network built using LION's LinkedIn Open Networker. So write that down on the worksheet. 1 second. Great. So with the LinkedIn Open Networkers, you are fairly certain that they will accept your invitation. Generally around 70 to 90% is the average of LinkedIn Open Networkers will accept your invitation. Now this is what we're going to do. If you can imagine that you connect with someone who's already got 30,000 first connections, those 30,000 first connections now become your second connections. I'll say that again. So if you connect with someone who's got 30,000 first connections, they then become your second connections. So you can leverage all the hard work they've done straight away. So you can build your network by 30,000 second connections. Now those 30,000, their first connections become your third connections. So very quickly you can have a network of millions by connecting with the super connectors, the LinkedIn Open Networkers. So what I recommend you do is this. You do a search for LION and you use AND. This is called an operator. So you're looking for the keyword LION and it has to be in capitals, not lowercase, it has to be capitals. LION and you're going to use your niche. So mine might be Java. So I've got in the Java niche nearly 4,000 LinkedIn Open Networkers in Java. Now what I'm going to do, I think I want to connect with just those in the UK. So I'm going to click on UK. I've now got 311 LinkedIn Open Networkers in Java. So if I'm in Java development and I want to connect with and make sure that my interviewer can find me, if I connect with these 311 LinkedIn Open Networkers, I'm fairly certain that between them all, they've got virtually every single Java developer or interviewer, which is important to you, covered off in their network. So if I connect with these 311, straight away I'll probably be connected either via second or third connection to virtually every Java developer relevant person in my niche. So in Java in the UK, because these are super connectors. So what I want you to do in your niche, I want you to do a search for LinkedIn, and it could be that you're going into investment banking. So LinkedIn Open Networker, LION, and investment banking. So you've got 1,909. So I'm the UK, so I'll do a search for UK. Now I've got 241. Now what I want you to do, I want you to connect with around about, I've put 250 minimum. So if you do a search in your niche, but it only brings back, say, 100. So you do a search for LinkedIn Open Networker and let's do something specific like solar. There we go. So if I do a search for UK, we've got just 61. So what I'm going to do is connect with these 61. But I still want you to connect with about another 190, 250 minimum. So what I want you to do, you've got a couple of options here. Number one, you can just do a search for LION, and it could be you want to do by your country. So in this case, I've got over 10,000. So first of all, I want you to do LION and your keyword. So LION and Java, connect with 250. If you get that far, perfect. That's stage one done. If you haven't got 250, so you've only got say 100 when you do LION in your keyword, I want you to then do a search just for LION and connect with another 150, so you've got 250 in total. It could be that you do a search for LION, and if it's not solar, it could be that you're a developer. So let's do lion and developer, and that's 5,000. So you might want to choose 150 from there. But the key driver is you're looking to get LinkedIn Open Networkers in your niche primarily, and then secondary LinkedIn Open Networkers, and invite 250 plus, and that'll be phase 1 done. Now straight away you'll have a reach probably of over 10 million. Straight away. You've built your network to a massive degree already, and the reason why is we're leveraging the power of LinkedIn. We're leveraging the power of a network, which very few people do. Most people try and connect with someone direct, one-to-one, straight away. It's the wrong way to do it, because when you want to connect with the key people of influence, we want them to look at your network and they see that you're a person of influence. So that's why you do the things in the order we're doing it. You make your profile stand out. You make your profile be results driven. The number one in terms of the network is you connect with these super connectors, and the next stage is we now connect with roles and companies. So that's phase 1 done in module 3. Phase 2, looking at your worksheet, a network built with roles and companies. So once you send out your invitations to your LinkedIn Open Networkers, I'd wait a few days and see what results you get back. Now with LinkedIn, if you have over 500 connections, you're seen as being a heavyweight user of LinkedIn. So we want you to get over 500. So dependent on how your profile was when you started this exercise, if you had a fairly average LinkedIn profile, you should now have over 500 connections. If you haven't got over 500 connections, what I want you to do is the following. I want you to go back to stage 1, and I want you to invite another 250 LinkedIn Open Networkers until you get over 500. And the reason why is when we go into stage 2 and stage 3, we don't want you to be rejected. We want to cut out as many possible reasons for you being rejected as possible. And one of those reasons may be that you've got less than 500 connections. So first thing is you get over 500 using phase 1. Very important. Now phase 2, you build a network with roles and companies. So what I want you to do is the following. If you know your agency has put you forward for a role with, let's say, Philips, what I want you to do is do a search for Philips, and it could be manager. In fact, we might do this the other way around. I think what we will do, you can do this a couple of ways. As you see here, we've brought back managers at Philips, but what you can do is, if you know, for example, that you're going to be based at the, I'm not sure where Philips are based, let's say Philips, and you're going to be working in the, let's just try Java. Okay, so these are people on their profile, they either work for or have worked for Philips or have a reference to Philips, and they've got a reference to Java. So what would be of use to you is to start connecting with some senior people in Philips. Now for a number of reasons. Number one is you'll start to get their status updates on your page, so you'll see what they're talking about, and that's very useful for when you go to an interview. It gives you insider knowledge on the company. Number two, if you connect with senior people on LinkedIn, you'll then start to see who they're connected with, and you can then start to build a network of key people of influence within Philips. So what I want you to do is do the following as an exercise. Number one, I want you to write down the companies that you wish to do business with, i.e. you want to move into. So it could be that for example, Philips, Nike, AT&T, but you list the companies. If you're not sure of the companies, then it's your job to identify the companies in your niche you could work with. So if you're in the telecoms industry, but you're not sure which companies you want to do business with, it's your job to do that research and find out who you want to work for. It could be that you just identify the top 50 biggest telecoms companies, and that will then cover your niche. But you identify the companies. So I want you to do the following. I want you to list the companies, and you can do this in an Excel spreadsheet or on a piece of paper. On the left hand side, I want you to list the companies. Now along the top, I want you to list the roles in the company of the decision makers who will influence whether you get a position there or not. So I'll give you an example, going back to Java development. If I want to work in Philips at Java development, in a Java development role, who is going to make the decision? Java team leaders, IT team leaders, program managers, project managers, HR managers, and so forth. So you list the roles of the people who will be hiring you or will be making a decision on you along the top. Then you list the companies along the bottom. Now what you'll have is a matrix of companies and roles. So let's take this a step further. So we've now got Philips. We've done our matrix. I'm looking for Philips, and I'm looking for, let's say, an IT team leader. In fact, I'm going to keep it a bit more higher level at the moment. Philips, and I'm going to go back to Java because I'm in the Java trade. I'm going to do a search for Java, and I want to be based in the UK. Okay, so now we've got 500 results. So I can see now very quickly. Let's see what we get for Java Manager. And what I've not done there, when you do a search for two words together, you need to put the speech marks around it. Then it will search very specifically for Java Manager. So that doesn't exist. So let's try for team leader and see what we get at Philips. So if I do a search for Philips and team leader, I've got 8,000 results. Now I'm not sure what the structure of Philips is, but I've done a search for IT team leader. Brilliant. Okay, so I want to work for Philips. I want to work in Java development, which is IT, and I can see there's 26 IT team leaders. So I'd need to do some research and find out what the actual roles of the individuals who will be recruiting me. So that's really key. So your job is to identify what the actual roles are of people hiring you, identify what the companies are you want to work for, and then what you do is you then do a search using your keywords. Remember, and needs to be in capitals. So you're looking for Philips and keyword, and then whatever the role is, if it's more than one word, you put it in speech marks so it searches for that as a string. So I want you to do that for your companies. So now what you're going to have is you're going to start connecting with the decision makers in the companies you wish to be working for. That's important. So say for example you will put forward for an interview at Philips. You can see, once you've connected, you can see on your wall, on their status updates, what they're talking about. You can check out their profiles. They can check you out, and they will check you out as well. But if you're not connected to them, they might not even bother checking you out. So it's absolutely key that you're in their network. So with phase 2, you're now building your network on roles and companies of where you want to work. So a case of roles and companies. Now phase 3, laser focused on key KPIs, key people of influence, position and strategy. Now, once you've gone through phase 1, LinkedIn Open Networkers, you've got a network of over 500. You've got a reach of probably around 10 million plus. When you go on phase 2, you've now started to connect with individuals, decision makers in those companies. Now phase 3, it could be, you know by this stage that your interviewer, or you know a key person in the team where you want to be working, you know them by name, you've done some research. Now you can actually find them by name on LinkedIn, search for them and connect with them. When they look at your profile, they're going to see, number 1, you've got over 500 connections. Number 2, they're going to see you're connected with decision makers, HR directors, HR people, program managers, team leaders in their company. So when they look at you, you aren't just some random individual trying to connect. You're actually someone who's got a lot of weight behind you. You've got individuals behind you. Now if you've been putting out good information on LinkedIn over the last couple of weeks, they may even ask their colleagues, who is this person who's trying to connect with me? And then they're going to check out your profile. And that's why your profile needs to be results driven. Sets you apart. So can you now see how it's all starting to fit together? So phase 3 is you identify the person by name, and that could be your recruitment agency giving you the person's name. It could be your own research, and you connect with them. But you need to do it in this order. Where people make a mistake, they try and contact the person they want to do business with, or the interviewer, or the decision maker straight away. The decision maker looks at their profile, thinks it's rubbish, or they see they haven't got the right amount of connections, or indeed the right connections, and then they decide that isn't somebody I want to be connecting with. And you only get one shot at making a first impression. So do you now see how modules 1, 2 and now 3 are built on one another? There's a flow to this. There's a sequence to what we do. Very important. So to recap, number 1, you do a search for LinkedIn Open Networkers Lions. You get over 500 connections. Number 2, you build a matrix, either on an Excel spreadsheet, on a piece of paper. Very simple. It's not a big task. It should be taking you half an hour. Number 3, you now get focused on the actual individual by name, and that's something that you'll continue on a daily basis until you get your role. So that's how you build your network strategically. Your competitors will not be doing that. You are going to be way ahead of your competition, way ahead. So back to the presentation. Module 4. Now, if you've carried out modules 1, modules 2, modules 3, this next phase is going to be very exciting for you. This is where you prepare yourself as an expert in your niche. This is where we have gone over and above any other training that's out there in terms of showing you how to position yourself as an expert. These strategies, companies have paid us thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds for. You're going to get this information now. It's very powerful information, and it's up to you to use it in a constructive fashion. So, there are 3 key strategies that are going to set you apart from your competition, and I'm going to take you through these very quickly. I'm going to take you through in a way that lays out the steps. I'm going to take you through a way that gives you the content you need to know. Now, LinkedIn is a big tool. I'm not going to show you every single button you can press on LinkedIn, and that isn't the intent of the training. If you want to find out any low-level information, like how to create a group, there are numerous videos all over the internet. There are numerous documents. That isn't what we're doing. We're giving you information here that is going to set you apart from your competition. We're giving you strategies. So the first one, groups. I've mentioned that you need to be a member of 50 groups which are relevant to your niche. Now, this strategy and groups, if I come to LinkedIn, click on groups, you can create a group very quickly on the right hand side here. So I'm not going to go through every step of it. It's very simple. It's laid out all the steps here. The key thing is, for everything you're doing on LinkedIn, make it benefit driven for the person who's engaging with you. So the group name, the summary, description needs to be relevant to your prospect. But what I want you to do is this. I'm going to give you a background now, and then I want you to take notes on what I'm telling you and think about how you can do the same. I'm just going to take a sip of my water. Okay, so with a group, the purpose of a group is to, well, for you, is to position you as an expert. So this is what one very savvy individual did. I'm going to give you two examples here now. Take this as an example first of all. Young man was looking to work for Philips, hence I've mentioned Philips a number of times. He didn't have the experience. He actually was a graduate from university. And when he put forward his application, he was rejected by the recruitment company. This young man was hell-bent on working for Philips. So this is what he did. He created a group on LinkedIn. He'd gone through the phases I've already laid out to you of building a network in a strategic fashion, connecting with the right key decision makers in Philips. He then spent time on LinkedIn giving out good information. So on LinkedIn, like Facebook, you make a status update. But what he did was he'd go and search on Google for the latest blog on the particular area he was working in. So the area, let's call it Java development. He'd do a search on Google for Java development So if I did that, I do a search for Java development blog, and you can see there's loads. Now all he'd do is go and find a good blog. He'd copy and paste the link. He'd go back to his profile. And he'd share a status update, and he'd say, outstanding blog on whatever the topic is. I fully agree with the composition of code using the XXX system. What are your thoughts? So that's off the top of my head. That's just random thoughts coming out there. In your niche, you're going to find blogs, you're going to find information, you're going to go out on the internet, and if you've got your own content, awesome, even better. If you haven't, you're going to find outstanding blogs and you're going to reference them on here. Then what you're going to do is you're going to post these every day. Then what will happen is the decision makers you found, so for this chap, the decision makers in Philips, would start to see in his blog updates. So they started to see this young man had something different about him. He wasn't just on LinkedIn and not taking action. He's on LinkedIn posting good information. And people started to comment. So you post that, you share it to public, and you click share. I'm not going to do that because it's not relevant to my industry. But you're going to find information and you're going to post it. So he did that. Then he created a group. So he created a group. And when he created this group, he was very, very savvy of what he did. He didn't just create the group based upon a mundane topic. He wanted to work for Philips. So what he did was the following. He started to email and communicate with those people in Philips who he connected with, and he started to build a relationship with them. He explained he's a graduate coming out of university, and he gave them a bit of an insight into himself, and he asked about the departments, they worked in the IT department, and what the key projects are working on, what are the key challenges, etc., etc. And just by communicating, he found out what the key challenges were for this particular project. So what he did, he created a group. The solution to, and whatever the problem might be. So you can come up with a group name, whatever it may be for you. So in this case, let's say it could be the solution to Java 2.1, whatever it might be, but a very specific group. Then what he would do, he'd find Java developers and he'd invite Java developers to the group. So he'd bring them to the group. Then what would happen? So simply he'd send them a message and he'd say, come and join my group. I'd love to see your, remember, make it always benefit driven. He'd contact the Java developer and say, I'd love to have your input on the following. I think you could really add value to the group. So you can do it one of two ways. Either contact those you're connected with, or you can find groups where Java developers hang out. Then you join the group, and then you can message people in the group without being connected with them. So I don't think I'm actually a member of any Java groups, but I'll show you what I mean. No, I'm not. I'll just go to one of my groups. So what you do is you find a group where your prospect hang out. Click on members up here. And you find out which ones you want to bring to your group, and you simply click on send message here, and you send them a message. So you make it benefit driven. So it could be Java 2.11, I need your help. or it could be Java 2.1.1. Your expertise could be invaluable. But you're going to make it benefit driven, and also everybody has an ego as such, and everyone likes to feel of use and of help to someone. So you find the niche, you find the area, and you find the reason why that person will come and join your group. But you're going to bring them into your group. So you're going to invite 50, 100, 200, 300 individuals into your group. Then what you'll have a group of 10, 50, maybe 100 members. Don't worry about the group being so small. Ideally, your group could be doing 10,000, like everyone's group. But you're going to bring people into that group. But what he did was, he got a base of people in the group. Then what he did is he went to the Philips people he was connected with, and he said, hey, I've got this group about Java 2.1.1, the problems, got some awesome developers in there. I'd love your input. We've spoken before on my status updates. I'd love you to join the group and give your input. So he then started to bring Philips individuals into the group. Then what he found out, while bringing them into the group, is he'd then converse with people in his group. Now he's the owner of the group, so he's seen as the leader of the group, the authority. And he's only a graduate, but he's seen as the authority, and he's got all these talented developers speaking in his group, sharing knowledge. Through asking the right questions, he found out what the key problems were in the key challenges on this project in Philips. So what he did very soon, he managed to extract information from the Philips individuals and identify what the key problems were. He then, just by conversing in the group, they discussed solutions and so forth, and about Java. He then created a white paper on this. He created a white paper on the key challenges Java, and of course Java 2.1 I've made up, whatever the actual problem was. He made a white paper. He then identified who the interviewer was and the decision maker in Philips. He then contacted the interviewer direct on LinkedIn using strategies we've already shown you. He then said, listen, I'd love to work for Philips. I've created this white paper. It's taken me 4 weeks to create. You can see how passionate I am about Philips and the brand. I'd love to come in for an interview. He got the job. Now the actual steps he went through were, number one, he built his network as we've shown you. But then what he did was connect with the individuals in Philips as we've shown you. He then created a group, very, very simple. But then he brought in Java developers into the group first of all. Then he brought in the actual experts from Philips into the group. So you're going to build a group in your niche. That's one way of actually getting a foothold into a company and influencing the company, no matter what your seniority is. Another example using groups. Nikki had been out of work with a child. She'd been out of work for 12 months. She was referred to us and came to us because she'd been out of the country for 12 months. She was in the food manufacturing sales industry. Now Nikki didn't have the experience in the last 12 months. She didn't have the positioning. She'd actually been working abroad. So she's back in the UK without many connections. So she had a gap on her CV of 12 months where she had this child. Now that in itself shouldn't cause a problem, but of course employers always want those with the latest up-to-date skills. So this is what we did. We created a group on LinkedIn for Nikki. Nikki then invited sets of what she termed leaders from across her niche from around the world into her group. So sets of leaders from her group. So she had around 150, 200 people in a group after about 2 to 3 weeks work of work in her group. She is conversing with them. She was getting the latest information because these are leaders in her niche. Then she did the following, and this is something we came up with. She went to Amazon and identified the best-selling authors in her niche. She then invited the authors to come to her group. She then said to the authors, you can come to the group and you can discuss your book in the group if you can bring and invite your list of buyers of your book. So what would happen is an author has an ego. They want to sell more books. They've got an opportunity to speak about their book in your group. Not only that, they're going to invite their lists and their buyers into your group. So your group can grow very quickly, but you are the authority of the group. Now consider this. Imagine going for an interview where you can reference, yeah, I'm the leader of this group. In my group is, and you list the key people of influence from your niche. So you can list the Amazon authors as members of your group. Now, can you imagine what that does to your positioning compared to your competition? What do you do? Well, I've been working at so-and-so for 5 years. What do you do? Well, in fact, for the last couple of months, I've been focusing on building up my knowledge on the industry. I've brought together 10 of the top Amazon best-selling authors into my group. I've created this white paper on the following. As you will see, my group is 500 strong with the world's leading authors, the world leading members of this niche. Collectively, they've given me this information. This is my views on the problem ABC. So although she'd been out of work, and if you may have been out of work, there is a way that you can use that time constructively, and at least on your CV show that you're a manager of group ABC with 10 of the world's Amazon leading bestseller authors, and they see you as your authority. So if you have a gap in your CV of late, create a group on LinkedIn, follow these steps, extract the information from the leaders in your niche, create a white paper. Then that time that could be viewed as redundant time is now used constructively. You're now seen as an expert. Very, very powerful. Very, very powerful. Nikki was offered a role of 105k. The most she'd been offered a role before was 70,000. And that's with a year's gap on a CV. Why? Because we positioned her as an expert. And that's what we did. You can do the same. Number 2, strategy number 2, research and interaction. This is very simple, but it needs to be made very clear. When you go for an interview, or when you start working for an employer, you find out as much about them as possible, individually and as a company. So you search on LinkedIn for the interviewer. You search on LinkedIn for what groups is the interviewer in. You find out where they're posting. You assess what they're posting. You get a feel for their personality. You get a feel for what's important to them. So what you'll see very quickly is the interviewer or the key people of influence in the company where you want to move to. You'll find out what drives them as an individual. You can then use that as part of your own personal marketing material when you A, apply for the job, and B, when you're in the interview. Very subtle, but absolutely key. Strategy number 3, ring fencing and influence. Ring fencing and influence is very, very simple, and we've laid this out already, but I want to put it in as a separate strategy so you can see the clarity. If you have a decision maker in a company, he may have 4, 5, 6 team leaders who work for him, who report into him. Now, if you can influence those team leaders in a positive light, if that key person of influence has to ask them for a second opinion, which invariably they will, you've already got that positioning above your competition. Most people go into an interview with one or two ways. One, the interviewer's got no idea about the individual, or two, they've been referred. But let's assume you've gone with number 1. You're on a level playing field with your competition. If you go into that interview on a level playing field and the interviewer's never heard of you, you're on the same field as everyone else. If you go in there and he's seen your updates on LinkedIn, his team leaders have seen your updates on LinkedIn, they've seen that you're a man of knowledge, a woman of knowledge, you are set apart from the competition. It makes your recruiter's life easier to place you. All of these strategies are in place to make your recruiter's job easier to place you by making you an expert. So ring fencing is very, very simple. You identify the key person of influence, you identify their connections in the company you want to work for, and you start to connect with them. And then you start to post great content on your status updates, and if required, connect with them directly. So if you apply these strategies, you will be way, way, way above your competition. So to recap, Module 3, we've gone through a network for career growth. Module 4, we've looked at positioning. And the key thing with positioning is to think outside the box. And the strategies I've given you are field tested, they are proven. These work. So the world really is your oyster now. You can go out there and absolutely make big things happen. LinkedIn is going nowhere. LinkedIn's going to grow. It's your job to use it as a business asset. So I wish you every success. And with that said, I'm going to say goodbye.